As a result of an engine design issue, some OE coil-on plugs are highly susceptible to failure. The problem is a result of spark plugs being located in very deep wells where moisture and other contaminants can collect. Moisture problems can also occur if the seal at the back of the hood leaks, or if the AC condenser tube drips water into the well. As this moisture heats up, it expands and wicks up the wire spring inside the coil-on plug, causing a short. This wire spring connects the coil to the spark plug. Nobody has been able to prevent this moisture issue, but the next best thing is to prevent it from wicking up the spring. Our engineers counteracted this wicking by incorporating the use of highly moisture-resistant marine-grade grease during the manufacturing process. In addition, a grease packet and instructions are included in each box. Apply this grease at the bottom of the boot, on the spring, and at the connection at the top of the coil-on plug. Using our coils with properly applied grease will dramatically reduce failures. Along with checking the hood seal and the AC condenser tube, always be very careful when pressure washing the engine. These steps will prevent chronic problems. Another Wells advantage.
Hey, welcome to another live Wells Tech training event. We are so happy you are here. I got Mike Becker with me.
Yep.
Yes, he's going to help us out this time with some great explanations. And you're saying, what are we going to do? Hey, we're going to do power windows.
All right.
Power windows. How many times have power windows messed with you?
Probably more times than I can count.
Plenty of times, right? And the first place you go, right into the crack of the door, right? Because that's where the wires always break, always on the driver's door.
Yep, usually.
But not necessarily. And how do you know whether or not that is where the problem may be?
Right, yeah. That's more guessing, poking and holding.
Right, and on today's cars, you got to take that little accordion thing apart, or cut it, and now you're making a mess of that.
Yep.
And if you don't have problems there now, you are going to after you get done there.
Very true.
So there you go. So why don't we eliminate that as part of the problem first?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's test a way around it.
Let's do it. And one of the ways you can do that is you have to understand the wiring diagram.
Exactly,
right?
yep.
Wiring diagrams. Wiring diagrams today, if you're not reading wiring diagrams, oh boy. You better be reading wiring diagrams, and you better understand what they're telling you. And even me, I've been reading wiring diagrams forever, right? And every so often a symbol will come up like, hey, I ain't seen that before.
What's that? Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So we got to go take a look, right, and figure out what it is. That's what we're going to help you with today. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to go through the symbols and show you and explain what they mean. Then we're going to go through the wiring diagram of this power window, right? And we're going to show you a quick, easy way to find out whether or not that switch is the problem. And on today's cars, we got what year is this thing?
2000.
2000 Taurus. And it's very common for the switch to go out, but it's also very common to have problems in the door hinge.
Yeah, and in the motor itself too.
Right, and in the motor. So what we can do is we can look at that wiring diagram and we can make a decision on our own as to how we're going to test this. And that's what this training is all about today.
Yep.
Okay? All right, so there you go. And by the way, I am a great proponent for Identifix.
Yeah.
I think the automotive industry would be much, much different today if it wasn't for Identifix.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Identifix does for you guys that are using out there, and you know, is once you have a symptom, you look it up, and bam, you have instructions on how to test it.
Right.
Okay, so this was one guy writing down the instructions for one vehicle. It may not necessarily fit your vehicle, correctly.
Right.
Also, is there a better way? This is one guy like you and me that just wrote this down. There may be a better way to do this in a quicker way?
Yeah, right? There's not just one set way to do it.
Yes, that's right. There's a million ways to skin a cat, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to show you a different way to skin a cat today by using the wiring diagram, and we'll explain to you how the instructions went in Identifix and the advantage of being able to do this yourself. Okay?
Yeah.
There you go. All right. But before we get started, we have to talk about the t-shirt giveaway. We have more and more people out there wanting these Wells Tech t-shirts, and we're more than happy to send them to you. I'll tell you what. Okay, here's the question. Wiring. What does this symbol right here, what does that mean? Okay, first one in with the correct answer will be sent one of these coveted Wells Tech t-shirts in the mail. All right, tomorrow. Okay, there you go. Let's get started. Okay, Dave, you want to bring up that first chart? Okay, and we're going to talk about symbols first. Okay, thank you, Dave. You can see on the first drawing that we have up there, or symbol that we have up there, is a dashed line box. Mike, what does that mean? I see that on wiring diagrams all the time these days. What does that mean?
The dashed line box, or even a dashed line in general, it means that there's other devices or other things that aren't shown in that specific diagram. Commonly for like fuse boxes and that kind of thing, you'll see only the fuses that are pertinent to that diagram, even though there could be 20 or 30 other fuses in that fuse box.
So virtually what it means is that whatever your box, but there is more to that box than just this.
Right, exactly.
Okay. All right, very good.
Yep.
All right, let's bring up the next one. Okay, that's a solid line box. What does that mean?
That's telling us that that's a complete picture. So whatever's in that box is what's in the box actually on the car. So if you see a fuse box or a small fuse panel with a solid line around it, that means that is everything that's inside of that box.
Okay, good. All right, so that's a complete component.
Exactly.
Like if it says battery junction box and it's a solid line, that's everything that's in there.
Or say it's like a PCM or a BCM or something, that would be showing all the connectors.
All the connectors, and that's a good point too, because they don't usually show all the connectors.
Right, exactly.
Okay, let's take a look at the next one.
All right.
All right, that's a diode. Diode, you see those all the time.
Yep, exactly. That triangle is facing the direction of current flow. A diode is used to only allow current flow in one direction.
So it's pointing in the direction that current will only flow in.
Exactly.
So if current tries to flow in the other direction, it's stopped at that point.
Yep. So that way it doesn't backfeed into other circuits or anything.
Right. It's for backfeeding. Yep. Things like that. When they say a diode is out in your alternator and it's producing too much AC voltage, it's allowing current to flow backwards into the circuit. What's actually happening. Okay, next one. That says light emitting diode.
Yeah, that's just an LED bulb. That's a diode with the little lines on it. That means that it's a light bulb. It's an LED bulb.
And I'll have to be honest, when I first looked at that, I wasn't sure what that was. And so we did have to look that one up myself. All right, next one is a conductor. And that's all that means is it is a conductor, something that's going to flow current.
Exactly.
And then we have two conductor connection.
Okay. Yeah, the little black dot there in the center, that means that those two wires are connected. Whenever you see the little black dot, that means somewhere in that wiring diagram or somewhere on the car, they're actually connected physically with a splice.
Sometimes they'll have like an S154.
Yeah,
so you know that's splice 154, and then you can go in and look up the splices and see where they're located and get a location on the vehicle.
Right.
Okay, very good. Next one. All right, two conductors crossing.
Right, so when there's no little dot on the center in there, or you see the little curve or the little hump in the wire on there.
The McDonald's arch.
Yeah, there you go. That's just showing us that the wires are crossing in the diagram, but that doesn't necessarily mean the wires are crossing on the car.
Right.
That's just to help keep the wiring diagram organized and to show the way the wires flow without having to chop them all apart.
That's right. If you can imagine writing a wiring diagram.
Right, yeah.
Yikes. Okay, it's hard enough to read.
Yeah, right.
Much less write. Okay, next one. And I see this one a lot these days too. It says a relay.
Yeah, so it's basically going to be a box with, you know, your terminals inside, and that little symbol on the left side there with the line through it, that's going to be symbolic of a winding in there.
Okay, so that means there's a winding of wire there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll see it as a little squiggly line too.
Okay.
And that's showing that there's a winding. So when we apply power and ground to it, it's going to turn that switch blade in there, and it's going to turn that relay on or off.
By a magnetic field.
By using a magnetic field.
Right.
Exactly.
It's going to create a magnetic field and it's going to pull that switch in. Now, today's vehicles, of course, they don't have mechanical switches in there. It's all done electronically, but the function is the same.
Right.
You know, when you energize this winding or this part of the circuit, you're going to transfer the current from C to B, to C to A.
Right.
Right.
And usually they're used for using a small amount of current to control a larger amount of current.
Right. Right.
So,
that's what relays do.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Very good. All right, let's take a look at that wiring diagram.
Oh, actually, one more thing I wanted to talk about with the relay. If the relay doesn't have a box around it and it's just drawn into the diagram with no box around it, that means the relay is not removable.
Ah.
Such as Ford smart junction boxes, they have internal relays that you cannot service them.
You have to replace the entire module.
Exactly, yep.
Now, that's interesting too. I'm glad you brought that up. That is right. Okay, very good. All right, let's take a look at the wiring diagram.
All right.
Okay, but before we go to the wiring diagram, let's talk about what's going on with this vehicle.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so it's a 2000 Taurus, right?
Yeah.
Ford Taurus.
Yeah.
And there's a problem with the windows. What's going on?
Yeah, the customer brought it into us. His passenger side window will roll down, but he can't roll it back up.
Ah.
And there's some rain coming, so he wants to be
Even
able
if
to
there
close
isn't,
that thing.
Yeah, you like wind noise to your ears.
Yeah.
I used to have a girlfriend like that.
Oh.
All right, so that's the problem, is the window will go down, but it won't go back up. So let's take a look at that wiring diagram now and see if we can figure out what's going on. All right, you can see we got the wiring diagram up here. Actually, it's a partial of the wiring diagram.
Okay.
We're going to bring up the rest as we go through the function of this diagram. And the first thing we want to show is up in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see that it says that it's hot at all times. So that portion of the wiring diagram will continue to be hot.
Okay.
Okay. So let's turn the ignition key to the on position.
All right.
And at that point, you can see now we're feeding current down to the PCM. I believe that's the PCM or the GEM module.
GEM module.
GEM
on this
module.
one. Yep.
Right. Right. And it's going through, what is that going through there at the top?
Through the battery saver relay.
That's through the battery saver relay, right?
And that battery saver relay is going to turn on once the magnetic field is energized there. It'll turn our relay there, right there, turns the relay on.
All right.
And then that's going to go ahead and send our power over to our accessory delay relay.
And then back to the GEM module again.
Yep.
Okay,
and then,
very good.
So then the GEM module goes ahead and turns on that accessory delay relay. So that magnetic field energizes, pulls that relay over. And then that sends power down to our master window switch then. And then and then it actually does go back down to the one touch relay as well there on the left side.
Right. And then back to the GEM module again.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, because the GEM module is what really controls all of this.
Yeah, it's the brain behind the operation on this one.
Okay, so now that we have the start of the current flow, let's open up a piece of the rest of the diagram here.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're showing the master switch.
All right.
Okay, so now current can pass down to the master switch, and nothing happens at that point, right?
Right, because we're not actually doing anything. You can see the current goes down into the right front window switch portion of the master switch, but it just kind of sits there right now.
Right. And another thing I'd like to point out here is on the first part of our wiring diagram, you saw that dashed box.
Oh, yeah.
Right around, all the way around what was contained into the central junction box, I believe. Yes. Okay. So these pieces are actually in the central junction box, and then our GEM module is off to the side in a dash box too.
Right.
And because that's not all the connections.
Right. There's more to that GEM module and to the central junction box.
Right. There's more to it, but these are definitely in those components.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So now what we have to do is actually manually turn the switch on.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll turn it so it goes down first.
All right, so we flip the switch. So the switch moves internal of the master switch, and it sends power.
Right. And once it sends the power down, now this is the rest of our wiring diagram, which includes the passenger side switch and the motor.
Exactly, yep.
Okay. So why don't you go through that path once?
Okay, so the power goes through the master switch then, through the down switch of the master switch, all the way down to our passenger side motor, our passenger side switch.
Which is right now in the resting state.
Exactly, yep, we're not pushing the passenger side switch at all.
Right.
So it goes down through the passenger side switch and goes down to the passenger side motor. And then it goes through the motor and it travels back up through the passenger side switch, and it actually ends up going back to the master switch, through the master switch, through all of the wiring in there, and then it goes to ground.
Okay, very good.
So kind of confusing.
It is a little bit confusing, unless you really draw it out like this. It's hard to understand exactly what's going on here.
Right.
So it's actually going through the master switch to the passenger side of the vehicle, operating that motor, and coming back through the master switch to get to ground.
That's a lot of wiring.
That is a lot of wiring. It's very interesting how they do that. Okay, so now what we need is to use this wiring diagram as a diagnostic tool. So what I'm going to do is I want to magnify in on that switch. Okay, so now we're zoomed in to the switch, and we'll talk about where we are going to set our jumpers.
Right.
So what we're going to do, what we're looking here to do, is to test this circuit an easier way than what Identifix was showing us, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Because Identifix was telling us to run jumper leads across the car, right?
Across the car, because they
like a lot of
knew
work.
that the current went back and forth. So they were duplicating the wires. They were running redundant wires to see if it was actually in the wiring.
Right.
But they have a lot of problems with the switches in here, so why don't we see if it's a switch first?
Yep, and the switch is easy to get out on these. It just takes a minute to pop out.
Just a second to pop out, and boom, boom, here you go.
Yep.
Okay, so where should we put our first jumper, would you say?
We need to apply power, because that's what the switch does, is it's going to go ahead and power. So we're going to put our first jumper lead, and if we want to make the window go down first, we're going to put power onto our top where it goes in there, and then onto the left side there on pin, I can't tell what pin it is. I believe that's pin 3.
Okay. What color wire is that? Does it say?
Yeah, that's going to be a yellow and red wire.
Okay, yellow, red. It's kind of hard to read our wiring diagram on our monitor screen, just so you understand. It's not that we can't read.
So we're going to go ahead and put our jumper leads between there, and we use fused jumper leads.
Fused jumper leads, and we'll show you them here in a second. And so what we're going to do by doing that is we're going to bypass the power feed to the passenger side.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Keep that in mind.
We're kind of acting as the master switch.
We're going to act as the power side of the master switch. Yep. Okay. And where is our other jumper then?
Then our other jumper is going to go on the one on the ground wire on our black wire at pin 2.
Okay.
And then the other to the other part of the control of the master switch on that white and yellow wire.
White yellow wire. So now we got our own ground.
Yep.
Right? And we got our own power. So as soon as we hit that window should go down.
Exactly. Yep. Because we're doing exactly what the master switch does when you hit the button.
And that's what we're going to do on the car first, and then we're going to swap them around and see if it goes up. And that was his complaint.
Yep.
Right?
Because it wouldn't go up.
All right. Very good. All right, now we got a good understanding of how the wiring goes on this thing.
Yeah.
And we also showed how we're going to jumper it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but these are the jumpers we're going to use.
Right, and these are ones that I just made up. I went over to AutoZone, picked up some fused jumpers, like they look like this, and I went ahead and soldered on some ends and shrink wrapped them. So.
Right, and we have a state-of-the-art tool room right next to our shop right here, and they clipped off some nice little brass pieces for us to solder on there. I know you don't have that, but you have to be a little creative on that.
Right.
Just that's all you need is a little piece of metal. And look at that, you can shrink wrap them, and here you got a nice jumper that's going to last you a long time. So there you go, and it gets in everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what's nice about these little flat blades like that. Okay, I think that's about it. Let's get over to the car and show them how to do this.
Let's show them how it's
all right,
done.
This is way too much fun. I'll bring the jumpers.
All right, sounds good. All right.
Our Ford Taurus.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah.
Okay, 2000 Ford Taurus.
Yeah.
The passenger window goes down, but it doesn't come up.
Exactly.
All right. All right. So we're going to show them how to test it with these jumpers.
They're jumper leads instead of those long wires all the way across the whole car.
Like Identifix was telling us to do.
Right. Yep.
And again, you know, Identifix is a great program. I'm not discounting these guys at all.
There's more than one way to do things.
Right.
All right, well, first of all, let's go ahead and make sure that it's actually not working.
Right.
All right, so go ahead, turn your key on. You know, we got to power up those relays in there, turn the key on. Go ahead and see, okay, our window comes down.
Okay.
But pushing the button here, I got nothing going back up.
Hold on 1 second here. Can we get a shot of that window? There we go.
So
window's coming down.
Nothing happening there.
It don't go up. All right. And it doesn't work from the passenger side either, correct?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Very good.
All right, so first of all, let's just go ahead and pop our switch out here.
Yep. Let's go to the jib. You just do what you need to do.
So go ahead, get to our switch and
There
unplug
we
our
go.
connectors, which tends
Can
to
be a
kind
little
of
sticky at times, can't they?
There we go.
Yep.
That was,
Test your finger
I
strength.
guess so. Jeez. All right, we got our old switch out. So let's,
Next time we'll have the secretaries do that.
there we go. Go ahead, take our jumper leads. We got our diagram printed out here, so I remember which wires to use.
Okay.
So we'll take our first lead here, and like we talked about, we're gonna take our blue and black. That was our power into the switch. And we'll go ahead and put that over onto our yellow and red wire. Go like that, and then we'll take our white and yellow wire, which is the other side of the switch, and put that down to
Okay,
ground.
so when you touch that, that window should go down.
Yep.
Is that correct? Okay, so let's take a look at that window. Let's see if it's
So I
working.
touch it together, our
There we
window
go.
goes down.
Right. So now let's see if it, now we want to reverse things, right?
Yep. Let's see if it goes the other direction. So we'll go back to the switch, and all we have to do now is pull it out of one of the connectors here and just swap them around. So now we want our yellow and red wire. We want that to be powered. So we'll put that to the blue and black, and we'll take our yellow and white wire and ground that. And I think I set it opposite.
Okay, let's take a look at that window. Oops.
Let's go back to our diagram. Make sure we
Okay,
get the right
all
colors, because I put it back into the down position.
All right.
So we actually want to do yellow and red to black, and white and yellow to
It's a good reason to have that wiring diagram right next to
Right,
it.
then I don't have to get back out of the car to do it.
Right.
All right, so now our window should go up.
Let's take a look at that. All
Look at
right,
that.
it is.
It's going up perfect. Okay.
All right, let's put the
So-
new switch in there and see if that takes care of things. Because
right.
what we did here is we did nothing more than to bypass that switch. Meaning, we took the master switch out of the circuit and we went around it.
Right, so we
Okay,
got
so
our,
by doing so, we also checked the wiring. Go ahead, flip
Yep.
that switch in there.
all right, so we got our new switch
We
here.
checked the wiring, going from this side. Remember, we went over from the master switch over to the door switch, and then back again is what we were looking at.
So with our new switch in, the window goes up and down.
So that told us, just from this side, that this wiring going through this hinge
Yeah.
to this door, that switch was working, it was in the rest position.
Yep,
Right,
exactly.
and back again, the wiring coming back is all good. Now, I'll tell you, I'm probably the biggest culprit of this. A customer comes in, says his power windows aren't working for some reason. The first thing I do, go into that hinge,
Yep.
right? And when you
Common
go into
spot.
that hinge, you're opening up that to the atmosphere,
Yeah.
right? So
Exactly.
you're not doing anything good to this car by doing that.
Right.
Right? So if we can check this, if we can check through this hinge this quickly,
Yeah.
look
this
at
is an easy test.
not only do we save time and we save the customer money, but we got it accurately and we didn't pull something apart that didn't need to be.
Right. Yeah. We didn't pull any of the door panels off or anything. We didn't even have to get to the motor over there. We tested it all.
We tested
All
it all right
electrically
here.
and-
Right. And we didn't run jumper wires over to the other switch or anything like that.
Right.
So there you go. And the whole point of this is,
Yep.
when you get a problem like this, go through the steps that we're talking about. Yes, go to the computer, look at Identifix, look
Print
what they
off
have
your
to say,
diagram.
print out the wiring diagram, and go through what they're telling you to do so you understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay? And while you're doing that, you can look at that wiring diagram and you might figure out a better way to do it that's quicker.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's what it's all about. So there you go. Anything else you want to add on that?
Let's see if anybody answered the question.
Do we have any questions? Yes. Let's see. Jeff Jeff says ground, and Bill Hardin says ground.
All right, two
They
answers.
both got it right.
Excellent.
So I'll tell you what, bring up my email address if you would, please, Glenn. There you go, mark.hicks. I'm sure, Jeff, you got this in your favorites. But send me an email with your shirt size and your mailing address. So I'll need to get that again to get these shirts out to you. And by the way, Jeff, we got new size shirts like this. So you want to get your whole family in there, we'll send you one like this too. And by the way, when you get your shirt, send me a selfie too with you in it, and I'd appreciate that. We'll get that out on our website so we can show that people actually wear these shirts and like them.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to add?
Now let's just bring up our next class.
Our
Let
next
them know.
class, that's right. Next class will be on what, the 19th, right?
Yes.
Okay, the 19th, November 19th. It's going to be on TPMS systems.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a good time of year to do it. A lot of people's lights are coming on now.
That's right, because of the change of weather and all that
Exactly,
kind of
yep.
stuff. So we'll explain how a TPMS system works, and we'll show you how to check it, and we'll show you what to do with the sensors too. Either you want to clone it, or you can duplicate it, that kind of
Exactly.
thing. Cool stuff. So don't miss it. Be here on the 19th, or be square.
All right.
Okay. Thanks a lot for being there. Without you being there, we would not be here. And we'll see you again next time in the Wells Tech Garage.
All right.
See ya. Fade to black. Fade to black.